which will be launching, let's see, on May 4th, on Thursday, will be the Final Fantasy 12 event, Dancing Heart and Love. It's what it was translated to in Japanese. I don't know what it is in English, but whatever. It's Final Fantasy 12. And by the dancing in the title, you can definitely tell right off the bat that it is a Pinello event. And this first banner is totally indicative of that. On the top of the banner, we still have a USB 3BSB configuration, and everything else is Super Soul Break. That is a change. So this is a new banner format, sort of, where it just gets rid of the regular Soul Break. RIP in pieces. All the people that pulled Rams's Tailwind off the current Final Fantasy Tactics banner. The regular Soul Breaks are being retired. But the top of the banner is the same as always. Pinello's USB is armor. It's mind armor. It's kind of weird. But it's just RS, small resistance to silence and confusion. I guess that's pretty cool for Major Gore's fights, but you know, whatever. The RS is real, like, please, look, why would you do that? Because this could have been really cool armor. Anyway, the USB itself is actually pretty damn good. With we always like the zero cast time blinks, and this one is physical blink. So this is basically a direct upgrade of Ark's Super Soul Break, Word of Kindness. Because Ark's Super Soul Break is zero cast time, Medica H85, which is Curaga, it's the highest level Medica. And it is physical blink. Pinello adds on to that formula by giving HP Stock 2000, which is awesome. It's a really nice thing to have on a Medica, because, you know, you heal everybody up, and then you give yourself a little buffer. So she has, you know, time to do something else next turn, whether that be Protect Ashelka, or what Pinello does best, and that's dancing. And next on the list, we have probably the best relic on the banner, the return of Fran's Burst Soul Break, which is 5 AoE range attacks, and enemy Hyper Break, also called Penta Break. This is one of the best support Burst Soul Breaks in the game, and it's a really nice thing to see here. Already like right off the bat that we have a nice USB, and we have a really good burst. So we'll take a look at the burst commands, even though we've been over it before. One of the really nice things about Fran's Burst Soul Break is their 2x hits. So it turns what is normally a weakness for supports, and that most everything they do, except for, say, Affliction Break, is one hit. So it caps out their damage per turn at 10k damage. Fran doesn't have that issue. And with the attack soft cap being raised to 805 just within the last week, getting at least 2 times attacks on your support hits is a really nice bonus. She gets Power Breakdown and Mental Breakdown. Mental Breakdown is a little weird, because that's something you don't want to use as much even in mage teams. Like, it's nice. It is definitely nice. But you always want the power and the magic first. So this forces her into a situation where she needs to use, will most likely need to carry Magic Breakdown as one of her abilities. And that's okay. I mean, her kit is pretty much sealed from the get-go, unless you're in a physical primary fight, where you're going to want to be using Full Break on her and Magic Breakdown, because that combines together just swell with Power Breakdown and her Penta Break entry. And it turns her into a great debuffer, and she does great damage with her commands. So moving on, we'll see if we can find some other bursts that can, I don't know, support an already good 1-2 punch at the top of the banner. We have Gabrant's Innocence, which is an Imperiled Dark random, which is good. 8 single target, sure. And the commands, what do we get? Short cast time 4 times. That's actually a pretty cool first command. Um, Short cast time is a really nice thing to pair up with Imperil because it allows him to exploit that soul break gain with the faster cast time. I wouldn't call it generic. Yeah, I wouldn't call it generic because one, it can't do AoE damage, which is an issue. But this is a bad second command, but a great first command. It's a really good, probably one of the better physical dark burst soul breaks against single target. Due to the short cast time, 4 times single target, and paired with the Imperil instead of the attach. It's a neat little combo. You know, I mean, it's not great, but I'd say better than average as far as Imperil bursts go. And it's honestly physical dark bursts are kind of rare, and a lot of them are kind of crappy. But this one's okay. Next, we have the continuation of Wyatt as the Penelo banner, and her burst is also here. And this is something you totally want for Penelo. Sort of. It's not the best burst as of the second banner in Final Fantasy XII anymore, but it's still quite good at what it does, making Penelo the offensive White Mage Dancer. This is a really old status, and plus 15% Magic of Mind is, you know, there's a lot of other sources for that, and there will be continued to be more sources for it, so I don't know. I don't like the fact that that's there. We'd prefer that that was something else, or at least the stronger version of that. And if you're going to keep me at plus 15%, then at least give me a Kiraga Medica instead of Kira. The 8 single target random holy is, whatever, it's fine. It's on her theme. She can deal some damage. Yeah, it's kind of old. It's old, and you can see it in what it does, because a burst release these days would do the 8 single target. We'll probably do a Kirog. No, it'd stay Kira, but it'd give her Magic in Mind 30%. Similar to, say, Yuna's, except, I don't know. God, it'd be better than Yuna's. So maybe not. Anyway, the commands are 4 times single target holy damage. Penelo's the offensive White Mage. Self-Mind 15% to increase damage on subsequent casts. Yeah. It does a lot of damage, but you're rarely going to exceed 20k, even on Holy Week bosses. So something like Vanille's is usually a better choice as far as offensive White Mage stuff goes. And your typical command too. So it's a good burst for Final Fantasy XII if you need a healer burst in the realm. But as we're going to find out on the second banner, there is a new best healer burst in Final Fantasy XII. But getting this and the USB together is a great combination, because it turns Penelo into an all-purpose White Mage, where she gets utility and healing, plus the ability for sustained healing. It's a nice combination to have. So if you're looking to beef up your Final Fantasy XII synergy, we're already looking at a pretty good banner for that. And on the plus side, you have this Omega Relic here. Van with a variant knife, Super Soul Break, 0 cast time, AoE, enemy attack defense 40%. Another good CM tool. It's Lion. It's Lion's Burst turned into a Super Soul Break. And changed to AoE instead. Yeah, you know, submission stuff. You know, this is probably be really nice on Mandragoras. This is like made for it. Gabrant's helmet, 6. What do we got? Small dark damage up on his helmet. Okay. I mean, there's an overabundance of that stuff these days, so I'm not going to consider it that much of a positive. The Soul Bright itself, AoE and dark. I guess. You know, if you're generating a lot of extra gauge from his BSB, because that's what it's designed to do, then maybe you'll have the opportunity to cast this with it. Um, yeah. Whatever. You know, it's a neat little combo, but again, not made for... It's not great. Pinpoint. Wow, they just love throwing this on banners. This is Fran's Random Target Imperil Lightning. Yeah. Not good. I mean, it's got use if you need an Imperil Lightning, but, like, there's so many more better versions of Imperil Lightning these days. I'd say the best physical Imperil Lightning would be Lightning's BSB2, and the best magical would be Garnet's BSB2. You don't want Fran to be using this. Fran does other things that are much better, like Shatterheart if you've got to dig deep at the bottom of the well, or her Burst Soul Break, for instance. It's sort of nice just as a pairing for maybe like speed clearing for Torment and Full Throttle, because you're looking for this, and then you can think about casting stuff like this at the same time. Chaos Blade, this is really old. Wow. Fulminating Oblivion, 4 times AoE Dark Physical, 100% stun. This is really old and really bad. And Bosch's Fulminating Darkness, it gives him Sentinel. Hey, I don't know. Sure, that's kind of neat, but it belongs. This is the worst relic on the banner. Garbarant's Fulminating Oblivion, and this is the second worst, for sure. Sketch asked, stupid question you probably covered but was eating. How high would you rate Fran BSB in comparison to Ferris and so on? I have no break BSBs, but like Ferris as a character a lot more. Well, yeah, Ferris is definitely a much better character than Fran, but Fran's BSB is better. Ferris just has a standard single target full breakdown BSB. It's nothing to write home about. What makes it good is the fact that it frees up ability slots, because you've got power breakdown and magic breakdown on the commands, and Ferris's ability slots are high value because of how broad her skill set is. As one of the few true supports that can also use 5-star Dancer. So she can be used in single target and AoE situations. How would I rate it considering the characters? It's tough to say. Fran's more damage oriented, but still really good. I'd say Ferris better overall. Just because Ferris is a much better character. But Fran isn't bad. And Fran has the benefit of being a Celerity 5, which gets better in the future. Celerity 5 gets another ability, which just does a ton of damage. So on a fight where you didn't need to use both of Fran's ability slots for support things, you could do a lot of damage with her. And Celerity also gets a buff in Dervish. The 6-star Celerity ability just turns into a real powerhouse of damage as they increase the hits it does from 2 to 8. And they increase the multiplier at the same time. It's a really good ability once it gets buffed. So if you're looking to deal like damage, you've got other sources of debuffing from your support. Or you want to use... I'm not going to say Magicite because Fran's completely non-elemental. But if you just want to deal a lot of damage and you have other forms of support on your team, then Fran's probably better. But as a single source of debuffing, Ferris is going to be the better character for you. And this is considering you have each of their BSBs. Moving on to the second banner. Oh, well, first I want to give a rundown of this banner. I like the top 4. Gabrant's isn't I don't know. It's average to above average. We'll just call it average. Pinello is a healer BSB, so it's automatically a bit of a prize because it really, really increases your strength in Final Fantasy 12. But the top 2, the USB and the BSB for Fran and Pinello, are definitely the prizes here. The problem with the banner, and we've seen this a lot recently, is there's nothing all that desirable in the Super Soul Break section. And that's an issue, but a lot of this stuff is either complementary, like Garanth and Fran, and more, this isn't even complimentary. I highly doubt you would ever use this. But the Garanth and Fran thing are complementary to bursts, and the Van Dagger is really good in Sid missions. So this is probably the best banner you're going to find for a while, as far as strictly, like, not strictly, just improving your Final Fantasy 12 synergy, as well as getting a chance at an A-team item in Fran's VSB. So second banner, we have Bosch's Save the Queen. It's a spear, and it's realm synergy only, holy damage up, which is unfortunate. The fact that it's a spear and realm synergy up makes it a really poor relic. The OSB itself is physical damage multiplier increased based on number of holy attacks used. Well, that's an easy multiplier to increase, especially for a knight. Let's take a look at his burst, because that also shows up on this banner. Additional hit if enemy is weak or imperiled. Self-retaliate. I don't know. It's good. What I'm seeing from this banner is a lot of complementary pieces, which is nice. You could build a Super Bosch. Rune and Pendant isn't even that bad because of the physical blink that comes around with it. Apocalypse Shield is one of those things that people may have. It's probably a pretty common relic from. This is weird. Why would Platinum Shield is just a regular soul break, isn't it? Well, I'm gonna check because I have it. Why would there be no generic on the first banner, but there is a generic on this banner? 4 Super Soul... Yeah, no, it's just a regular Soul Break. Well, we go back to the old banner format for this one. Anyway, moving on. This is a bad OSB relic, but probably a pretty good OSB because of the ease in which you can increase the multiplier. Let's go check out what kind of calculation we're looking at. Bosch's Righteous Steel breaks damage cap and damage increases the holy attacks used. We have a minimum multiplier of 11.2 and never goes higher than 14.5. There is a generic soul break on the first banner. USB, 3 BSBs, 5 Super Soul Breaks. OSB, 3 BSBs, 4 Super Soul Breaks, and a Soul Break. So did they remove something on here and add Bosch's Golden Axe instead? Oh, Bosch's Golden Axe is a Super Soul Break. At least that's what this guide says. These have been known to be wrong sometimes, so this could just be a regular Soul Break. Go check it out now. Yeah, Fulminating Darkness, you're right. So the list is wrong, in that the bottom of the banner does have it's just a Soul Break. It doesn't have a little plus on the icon. So that makes that even worse. Oh, that is the wrong banner. That makes this even worse than I thought it was, because it doesn't even get plus 10 attack for Bosch. So, man, the bottom of this banner is just so bad. Anyway, Bosch's Holy Lance actually has small holy damage up. So his BSB is arguably better as a relic than his OSB. Unless you're having difficulty hitting soft cap. But let's see, we got 6 AoE, Unholy, Burst Mode, blah blah blah. The burst commands are, unless you're hitting weakness, which is a little more common these days because you generally... it'll eventually get to the point where the only reason that we bring attach element bursts to fights is because we're exploiting a weakness because we have such strong coverage in some elements, and Holy is definitely one of those elements. So where formerly I would have evaluated the relic like we're looking at 4 hits instead of 5, I think it's fair now to consider that we're going to get 5 out of the verse command, because we're probably going to be using it either in Imperil situation, coming from somebody else like a Beatrix or an Agrius, or the boss is naturally vulnerable. The 2 AoE self-retaliate, this kind of sucks. Like, I guess it's an AoE command, you know, whatever. And it's alright, because the Knight ability pool is so broad that being able to take the place of an ability with one of your burst commands is nice. So I'll walk that statement back and say that having retaliate on the defend command is okay. You're right, Holy's common enough that we'll evaluate according to the 5 then, rather than the 4. So this is a pretty good burst, and it does some good damage. I've seen the Mathcraft on it, and it's more intermediate to above average. But what's nice is it's made to go against wholly vulnerable bosses, and that's a pretty rare thing to see. Vane's Gloves. I got this recently in a Lucky, and I can tell you from experience that I will never use it outside of a Sid mission scenario or Shadow Lord. So since we're probably never going to see Shadow Lord again, it's probably not going to see the light of day outside of Sid mission. It's a crappy thing, because there's no way that this could ever break onto an A-team, because its commands are separated. One is magical damage and one is physical damage. Well, physical and magical, respectively. And that leaves him with the single target for each. And so you're going to want to build him with one statistic in mind, either attack or magic. So at any given time, one of these commands is going to be completely useless to him. There isn't going to be fights outside of Sid mission. Remember, this is a Sid mission item only. But outside of Sid mission, there would never be a fight where you'd be like, oh, well, this is physical now, I can run Vane as physical. No, I'm going to bring people that are dedicated physical to that fight. So, it's just bad. So, this is a sour point on the banner. The gloves themselves aren't even that great, even though they're plus 20% dark damage up, because the only people that can take advantage of that is, and off the top of my head, are Sid Reigns and Vane. And if you're using Sid Reigns, you've got Sid Reigns BSB, because his other soul breaks aren't worth using. And Sid Reigns BSB is a small dark damage up glove. So it's pretty much limited to Vane use only. Thanks, great. Next, we have the highlight of the banner. We have Larsa's BSB. This is the best healer BSB in Final Fantasy XII. It is actually modernized, unlike Pinello's. It does a Kiraga Medica, and it does Astra / Status Blink. Same thing, just called different names. We know of Status Blink because we used it heavily from Edge's Super Soul Break and Eiko's Ultra Soul Break in the Nemesis fight. And it's a really, really nice thing to have. I think Tyro's USB also has it. And having this on a healer BSB is a unique thing for, I think, about 3 months. and it allows this to stand alone. But one of the great things about this, and clearly like what turns good relics into the best relics, is the people that use them. And Larsa happens to be a support 5 white mage. So not only can he Wrath like Ishtola, but he can also use stuff like Affliction Break, which is a really, really nice thing to have, because it frees up slots that you would use elsewhere in your party. So Lars is a good character due to his support 5 capability, and he comes equipped with a really, really nice burst. And the commands are exactly like Ishtola's. A 0 cast time Kiraja, and Medica age 25 on the second. So that's a highlight of the banner right here. Is one of the best healer burst soul breaks in the game currently. Or will be currently in a few days. Moving down, we got Baj's Rune and Pendant. This is definitely his... Is it... Yeah, it's probably his best Super Soul Break. The Party Physical Blink is always a nice thing to have. It doesn't get old. It's single target too. So it's more like... I don't know. It's definitely a complementary piece. They're not something that you would ever use by itself. But the fact that this is a strong Bosch banner, looking at the top, means that you don't mind getting complementary pieces because you get the plus attack. Plus you get other little neat things to use on him if the situation arises. Vane's Conqueror Armor. Let's see, 14 small dark damage up. We have Light Armor. Dark damage up, Light Armor. That gives both attack and magic. Mock Wave, AoE, Party, Instacast 1. But that's actually a pretty decent Super Soul Break. And the relic is nice itself. So I like this. Party Instacast 1 is a very powerful ability. We've seen it on stuff like Raijin's Super Soul Break and Ramza's Ultra Soul Break. It's that is instacast anything. It's the exact same thing that the Power Chain ability grants you. It's not limited by, dealing damage or school or anything like that. It's a really nice thing to give to your entire party. Probably looking at... This isn't even a yeah, this is a nice complimentary piece for Larsa. Sage's Staff, 15 holy damage up. Alright, well, that's nice. Party Protect, Shell, and Stone Skin. Definitely not something you would use probably outside of a Sid mission, but if you have Larsa's Burst Soul Break, this is a really cool thing to have on Larsa to, turn the character into something more well-rounded. Yeah, Extreme Fest is going to be fun. I always enjoy the banner analysis of the festivals. Wealthier Sky Pirate suit is a plus fire armor. That's what the 16 means. It's light armor. Inferno gives him in fire. Yeah, whatever. It's not complementary with anything on this banner. And even then, it's an AoE end fire on Super Soul Break, so it's not doing a whole lot of damage. So if you want to combo this with something like his OSB, well, frankly, you just don't, because it's going to reduce your damage while adding damage, and yeah, I mean, we know how I feel about the combo. And Apocalypse Shields, oldie but a goodie. And I like that it appears on this banner, because it's one of those things, because it's a plus holy damage armor, that not only is it a good relic, but it's a good relic to have dupes of, because I would love an 8-star Apocalypse or Platinum Shield. Whereas right now I only have one. And it's a really, really nice complementary soul break to have in addition to his stuff up here. So let's take a look at this banner. This is okay. This is good. This is bad. This is great. Complimentary. This is... if it wasn't on Vane, I'm gonna have to consider it a miss just because it's on Vane. Like, you need to bring Vane to use this, and It would be okay otherwise. So this is bad, complimentary, bad, and complimentary. So do you like Bosch or Bosch? Sorry, and do you like Bosch, or are you in need of a top tier healer BSB? Really, I feel like I think there's an easy way to break down these banners. We have the Penelo banner and we have the Bosch banner. Both are fairly good at increasing your realm synergy as far as soul breaks are concerned. So if you need Final Fantasy XII synergy, which would you rather have? A shot at one of the best support burst soul breaks in the game, or a shot at one of the best healer burst soul breaks in the game? There you go.